Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Miguel.
My name is Miguel,
He tenido la suerte de trabajar
and
durante unos 4
I've
años con Redbull.
luckily I've worked with Redbull for 4 years in the
Obviando un
basement
poquito lo que se
program.
hacía en
I'm going
basement,
to tell you what
pero
we
empezando
used to do in
desde el
basement,
futuro.
but starting from the
Esta, si no me
future.
equivoco, es como la
If I'm
última
not
slide.
mistaken,
Yo trabajo
this
en una
is
empresa que
the
se llama Fast
last
Forward.
slide.
Trabajamos
I
con
work for a company that's
Redbull
called
en todo el
Fast
programa
Forward.
de
We work
basement
with
desde 2018.
Red
Y lo
Bull
que
in all the
hacemos es
basement programs since
pensar en
2018,
el
and we
futuro.
just think of the
En
future.
¿Qué es el futuro? ¿Para qué
In
sirve el
what's the
futuro? ¿Por
future?
qué nos
What's the
interesa
future
el futuro?
for? Why are we
Esa era la
Why
última
are we
slide,
interested in the future?
¿vale?
This was the
¿Podemos
last
ponerlo al
slide.
principio?
Can we put it on the
Sería
beginning?
mucho más fácil.
From the beginning, sorry? It would be much easier.
¿Alguien de arriba?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hemos empezado por el final.
We've started
El final
by the end.
del futuro. Eso
The
ya
end
hace
of the
un poquito de
future.
tiempo que
Well,
pasó, ¿verdad?
that
Hace
happened a little
como
bit
unos
a
20
while
meses,
ago, right?
más o menos,
Like
acabó el
20
futuro.
months, more or
Y
less, the
empezamos a
future was
imaginar
over,
nuevos paisajes.
and we started to imagine
El
new
paisaje
landscapes.
es lo que nos permite ver
The landscape
hacia
is
dónde
what
vamos,
allows us to
el
see
lugar al que
where
queremos
are we
llegar,
heading to, the
el
place we
lugar
want to
de
go
donde
to,
partimos. Y el
where
paisaje
we
es algo
come
que
from,
no solo
and the
es
landscape is
metafórico
something
cuando
that
hablamos
it's
del
not only
futuro, es
metaphorical when
también
we speak about
visual,
the
es algo que
future,
somos
but it's
capaces
also
de
visual.
imaginar en
It's
nuestra
something that we
cabeza
are able
si
to
lo queremos.
imagine in our
Podemos
head and to
pensar
position
en ser
ourselves.
astronautas,
We can think
podemos
of being
pensar en ser
astronauts,
artistas,
think of being
podemos pensar en no ser
artists, we
nada,
can think of
simplemente
not
estar
being anything,
tranquilo viviendo en
just
una
to be
casita en
there,
medio del bosque.
to live in a
Pero al final,
house,
estos
in the
paisajes,
forest.
la
But
forma
in
en la
the
que
end,
imaginamos, la
these
forma en la que
landscapes, the way
miramos,
we
es
imagine,
la
the way
forma en
we
la que
look,
somos capaces de
it's a way in
proyectarnos
which
hacia un
we're
lugar.
able to project ourselves
Algunos de ellos
towards
son bucólicos,
somewhere
súper
else. Some of
bucólicos.
them are
Esta es una imagen muy sencillita, sonrisas y lágrimas, podemos empezar a
quite
cantar
bucolics,
por
for
los Alpes.
example. This is a great image.
Y es
We
un
can
futuro
start
válido,
singing
nos puede
in the
gustar,
Alps.
podemos querer ir hacia allá. O podemos irnos
The
a
sound
una
of
ciudad,
music, for example.
Singapur,
We can move to a
Toronto,
city,
en Nueva
Singapore,
York, y
Toronto,
querer estar en
New
medio de
York,
todo el bullicio,
and
encontrar a mucha gente, gente que se
to
mueva
be
muy
there
rápido, que
in the
vaya
crowd,
en otra
people that
dirección
are
a la que
moving
nosotros
fast,
queremos
people
tener.
that go in another direction than the one
O
that we want
podemos
to
estar en
follow.
una isla,
Or we can
tranquilo,
be
solo
in an
escuchando el mar.
island,
No hay
just
montaña,
relaxed,
hay
listening
olas.
to the sea. There's no mountain, just
Son
waves.
evocadores, nos ayudan a pensar, nos
They
ayudan a
help us
imaginar,
think,
nos
they help
ayudan a
us imagine, they're
decidir, nos
evocative.
ayudan a
They help
entender
us decide, they
qué
help us
somos, qué
understand
queremos ser y
what we
por qué.
are, what we
Y
want
hay
to be,
veces
and why.
que
And
cosas como
there are
lo que nos ha
times
pasado en los
when
últimos
things like,
20
for example, what
meses
has happened
nos
during the
ayudan
last 20
a
months,
posicionarnos mucho
help us
mejor en lo que
position
nos gustaría
ourselves
ser y lo
much
que
better
no
in when
nos
we would like
gustaría
to
ser.
be and what
¿Por qué
we wouldn't
evocan
like to
este
be.
tipo de paisajes, este
Why
tipo de
do we
imágenes que tenemos en nuestra
evoke
cabeza alrededor del futuro?
these images
Porque a veces
around the
nos
future?
permiten ver cosas que todavía no somos
Sometimes
capaces
they
de
allow
ver.
us to see things that
Una
we are unable
utopía
to
donde
see,
todo es
an
verde, todo está
utopia where
iluminado, todo
everything's
es
green, everything's
inteligente, todo es
integrated, everything's
tecnología, todo
smart,
es
everything's
smart, ¿no?
technology, everything,
Esta es
is
una de las
smart.
grandes
So this
narrativas
is
que
one
tenemos
of
hoy
the
en
big
día.
narratives that we have
Pero los
in
mismos
these days. But
paisajes, la misma forma de evocar, también nos lleva a
same
lo contrario,
landscapes, the
a ver
same
una
way of
catástrofe,
evoking,
a ver
bring
algo
us
que se ha
to
roto, a
another
ver que no
different
hay
thing,
ningún
to see a
tipo de futuro,
catastrophe, to see
que lo que creíamos que
something that has
existía ya
broken
no
up.
existe.
What we thought it
Y al
existed
final
does not exist
te
anymore.
ayudan a
And in
inspirar,
the end,
por un lado.
they
Te ayudan a
help you
conseguir
inspire.
un
They
punto más
help
allá
you
de lo que tú eres capaz de
go
ser.
an
Te
extra
ayudan a moverte
point
en una
compared to what
dirección,
you are. They help you
pero también te
move
asustan.
in a direction, but they
¿Qué
also
pasa si
scare
todo
you.
sale mal? ¿Qué
What
pasa
happens
si
if
no
everything
es lo que yo pensaba?
goes
¿Qué
wrong?
pasa si
What
me equivocaron
happens
al
if
decidir que
this is
estudiaba
not what
aquello
I
que hacía?
expected?
¿Qué pasa si ya no existe?
What if I'm wrong in what I'm
Al
studying?
final, todos estos futuros,
What
cuando
if it does
podemos
not exist
inspirarnos,
anymore?
cuando podemos
So all these
asustarnos,
futures, when we can
nos
inspire
ayudan a
ourselves,
crear
when we can
movimientos.
be scared,
Nos
help us
ayudan
create
a unir
movements,
a personas
help
que
us
piensan lo mismo
bring
que tú,
people
o
together
están un
that
pelín
think
más
the same as
alineados.
you, or
Y
they're
hay
a little bit
gente
more
que
in
usa
line. And
eso
there
para
are
hacer
people that
grandes
use
cambios
this
en el mundo.
to
Tenemos cosas
perform
como el
great
Black Lives
changes
Matter,
in the world. We have
tenemos
like
esta
Black Lives
campaña desde las
Matter.
Naciones
We have
Unidas
these
que fue
UN
impresionante
campaign that
para
was
los derechos de las
impressive
mujeres en el mundo
regarding
en general, pero especialmente
women's rights
en el
all over the
mundo
world, but
islámico,
especially in
sobre qué
the
decía Google
Islamic world,
cuando empezabas a escribir qué
about what
podían y qué no
Google
podían
said
hacer las mujeres.
when you start writing
Tenemos
what
a
women could do
personas
or
como
could
Greta,
not do. We have people
que
like
ha decidido
Greta
cambiar el mundo porque sí.
that has decided to
Tenemos
change the
a
world
esta chica,
because she
a
wants to. We
Gitanjali
have
Rao, es
this lady,
indoamericana
Gitanjali Rao. She is
y
an
ha
Indian
sido nominada
American,
como
and she
el
has
primer
been
niño
considered. She has been named the first the Time Kid of the Year. We were working with the WHO to design the future of healthcare in the Pacific area. And she is a girl that has decided to have a vision to change the world, and she has started to do it. But so this happens in Spain. We've seen Antonio a while ago, and he's decided to create a future. He has motivated, he has imagined a landscape, he has created a community where he's starting to move people in that same direction. It's not an I can't. Sometimes it's I don't want to. I have not been given. I can't have it. I can't buy it. Sometimes you're imagining that landscape, and it's the one that helps you see what you can build. And one of the big things that we have today, when we see these young people that are doing things, when I was a kid, well, I'm not very old, of course, but when I was young, with 44 years old, you have a while behind you. When I was 15, when I was 20 years old, my mother told me off when I had to, because I was browsing on the internet. We only had emails. I couldn't create anything. I couldn't communicate to anybody because we had nothing. Today, everything's connected. We can make people that have an idea move it very fast because it moves very fast. What does this do? It makes that one kind of specific narrative gets into our head and allows us to move. This I don't want, I can't. Yeah, we can. Yes, we want. There are many tools that allow you to imagine a future that you didn't see. Why? Because these futures are much more current to what they were 30 or 40 years ago. They're young. Many young people doing many things. They are really diverse. These are futures that change. Almost all of them are on the side of technology, social, and sustainability. So let's look after what we have, etc., because these are narratives that help us imagine that devastating landscape if we don't do anything. And that devastating landscape, well, people don't like it. So what do? People inspire and they try to create a change in the closest context, and sometimes it has a much bigger impact, and it has a much bigger change. This is like what happens with this image. Narratives help us see what we can do. How many of you think that we can do this? You can raise your hand. Why? Why do you think that we can have cars that fly? The battery density does not allow us to do this, and although they could do it, maybe it would make no sense. Imagine two flying cars colliding. They collide, they fall, and they collide again. Double impact. Imagine the same impact on the ground. They collide. If we move all the cars to the sky, traffic would not disappear. We would move it upwards. We would have the same traffic. And we not only have to remove the friction, but we also have to remove gravity. Much more energy consumption, two forces. But this is a narrative that we've been listening for a very long time. And this makes us imagine a future landscape where this happens. We don't even put that at stake. We don't even put that into question because it has been given. It is what we called a used future. It's a future that has been touched, that has been explained, that has been retold, that have been manhandled, so to speak. But it's just sci-fi. We could try to do this, but the important thing is, well, maybe we don't know whether it's going to happen or not. It's an easy example that everybody sees as possible. But what we are speaking about, sci-fi, movies, TV shows, etc., helps us build this image of the future that we can create. And this image makes us have an influence if we are content creators, or make us be influenced if we are content consumers. And we can be on both sides at the same time. So what happens? What we are telling, the story that we are telling, has a great influence on what we think that the future could be, and in what we think that we can do, and what we think that we want to do. For example, the typical Kennedy's moonshot. Well, he moved one full country to do something. It was a very long-term view. 10 years time, many people died to go to the moon. There was a great technology progress. We have Martin Luther King. That caused an important social change in the US for every colored person. We have things that have been in modernity before they were in the streets of Madrid. The skate rollers are not something modern. This is from 1903. So we have a delay of more than 100 years. So the future is conceived much before. And we think that our time is a time when everything is created, but things are given because narratives come from a very long time ago. The stories that build our way of thinking come from a long time ago. And these landscapes bring us together to imagine utopia, to imagine those things that we can do. And they bring us together in many senses. I don't know if you've watched this TV series. It's a couple of years ago, I think, a little bit before COVID. It's called Away. Hilary Swank, a character, a great narrative, a person with a family that leaves society in order to get a better goal for the humankind. And this evokes different things, and we have a very famous TV show that evokes something totally different. On the one hand, effort and to sacrifice for the human being. On the other hand, money. They say I'm going to the mall and I have a Ferrari. Both things inspire, but just one inspires him. It's about thinking something bigger of what you are or what you can be. And this is what we imagine from what we see. We imagine what to see, who we are together with, what narrative we consume, and what narrative we explain. In this case, the implications, both direct and indirect, and utopic or dystopic, depend on us, on our goals, on how we see it in an objective or subjective way. And in this case, we have to think of new landscapes. This is the work that we've done during last years with Redbull for the basement project. Basement, at the beginning we had many basements. Basement University, Basement Global, Amapico, that was a social innovation part. And well, luckily I've worked with them since the Basement Spain, at universities, at Amapico in the UK, at University Global, and in Toronto with them too, and with Basement Spain in 2020. We have been working with college students, people that wanted new landscapes, and we've done many things. This was the global that was the last face-to-face meeting. Let's try to find Spain there. It's not there. Don't we have talent? Don't we have imagination? Don't we have future? Don't we imagine a different landscape? Or do we only want a Ferrari? No, it was not there because we've never been able to capture that team of young people that wanted to participate and to be at the global final of a project sponsored to build the future they wanted to build. So what happens when you make it? You work very hard with your team and with teams coming from other countries to have ideas. Besides of working, you love, they teach you, and mentors from all over the place come along, from technology to sports, people that have scaled the full Himalaya 2, 3, or 4 times. You have a great learning not only about the future, about your technology, about your project, about your ideas, but also about how the world in which you're going to implement it works. You live experiences with people that are extremely relevant, that can contribute that point of view from a very different perspective. You have talent when you play. Girls from the Indian team designed a floor that could be used in all the universities in her country to generate the energy that the university needed. You have prototypes. These guys come from South Africa, from a very marginal school, and they created a very simple prototype that allowed people that couldn't see to go through the university with sensors, and they could go to even people that couldn't see could go to the university. So great excitement. They couldn't speak English and they were speaking in English. A great excitement for the ones that win. Now we're going to see the video. These guys come from Taiwan, and they could not speak a word of English. They came here, and when they saw that they had to make a presentation for 3 or 4 minutes in order to be able to be assessed and to see whether they moved to the next stage or not, they decided to be 48 hours without sleeping. They had Red Bull. Of course, it was easy. They decided to be 48 hours without sleeping. They asked one of the guys from Toronto to write, because in Toronto, in Canada, there's a great influence of Asian people. There's a great mix of English speakers and Asian people. Someone that was able to speak Chinese. They wrote this speech in Chinese. They transcribed it phonetically, and they memorized 15 minutes phonetically in English of what they had to say. And they made the full presentation. And this is when people started to applaud them because of that accomplishment. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. And after that, they were going to celebrate who the winners were, what you've accomplished, how you've built that future that you wanted to see. So let's watch the video. They are the guys from Taiwan that explained how their process was and what they were doing. I don't know if we have audio. I think so.
Bookstation provide a platform, and for lost book results to be reused effectively without wasting.
Our project is Bookstation.
It's the platform for lost books result to be reused effectively and without wasting. We design like a vending machine. Bookstation can help students to sell their used book or share their book. In 3 to 5 years, we hope Bookstation can be the part to every university in Taiwan. We want to share these used books to everyone who needs it.
Se lo pasaron genial.
They had a great time. So just another message, please join the future. The app is open for you to present ideas and projects. Red Bull will give you everything you need to participate. basement.redbull.com. You can get in touch with me through any of these places, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it.